Hello and welcome to another episode of NFI Hammer. So for this episode I'm going to be building a tomb blade. I've recently been getting into this hobby and I've decided to build Necrons as my first army, and the Imperium magazine provides a very cheap and fun way of building up the army if you're interested in Necrons or Adeptus Mechanicus or Ultramarines. And so in this issue it comes with the Tomb Blade for exactly one Tomb Blade, and this magazine is usually a cheap mechanism to getting models, but in this case, because you need 3 Tomb Blades for a set, and to buy the set of 3 costs about $84, $86 on Games Workshop, you're not actually saving that much money, you're only saving about $6. But you are getting 3 different magazines, so I enjoy reading them, and I like the pictures, gives you inspiration on how to paint the models. So all in all, it's pretty average, but it's not as awesome saving as some of the other models. So what is a Tomb Blade? They're agile aerial hunters, and they're these fast-moving flying craft that harass the enemy from the sky, swooping low to fire lethal energy weapons at targets of opportunity. So they sound pretty badass. What I'm going to be building, the configuration is what they recommend in the magazine. So that's going to be twin Gauss blasters, a Shadow Loom, which is a darkness aura projectile, and shield vanes. However, it does come with everything else, so if you did want to build it with a twin Tesla carbine or a particle beam as alternate weapon configurations, or a nebula scope as alternate kit, you can do that because the set comes with all the different options. So I'm starting off here just building the chassis, as I call it, the main circular structure. This really, to me, is reminiscent of the Star Wars prequels, like the Clone Wars. There's this robot that kind of rolls up and has like shields and stuff, so yeah, it's definitely giving me that vibes. At the moment I'm just kind of cutting out all the pieces for the first step and just kind of cleaning them with my model knife. So I've made a couple of mistakes along the way in this video. I'll point them out. They were pretty obvious, but all in all I found that the model was kind of fairly straightforward. There wasn't really any parts that I got completely stumped by. There is one part where I could not figure out what angle to put something in, but we'll get to that later. So now I'm in the glue phase. So I've just got the plastic cement glue from Games Workshop. I find that it's pretty trustworthy, and it doesn't really matter if you get any on your fingers or anything, it doesn't really stick, so it's not like super glue. So I'm just assembling the chassis here, but I made a mistake. My first mistake here was this part needs to be at the bottom of the ball, you can see in the top right, but for some reason when I actually went to glue it, I put it at the top, and that's why I'm struggling so much here trying to make it fit, because I put it in the wrong section. But when I was dry fitting it, I got it right, so I didn't know what happened between doing that and actually gluing it in. And I started on the Necron Warrior. I skipped over number 2 half on purpose, and then I forgot that I did that. And so you'll see later that I have to come back for step 2. I think after struggling with the piece, I wanted to do something that I felt like was bulletproof and I couldn't make a mistake. So this Necron was pretty straightforward. I mean, I guess I've assembled 30 Necron Warriors at this point, so I knew what to do. Plus, there wasn't really that many different pieces, so it was almost impossible to make a mistake. You know, there's only one head, one chest, rib cage, one pair of legs, so yeah, this was very easy. Just gluing it all together. Then to get them on the bike, the only trick is you kind of have to slide them in from the side. You can't just put them in directly, but it's pretty straightforward. And here I realized my mistake of gluing the seat in the wrong section, so I fixed that up and put the guy in, and then you have to hook him up into the cables It does say there that you don't have to use glue for this section, but I just ended up gluing it a little bit. And so there's also additional cables. These number 25, it's this really small piece, and these also connect into his back shoulder blades and into the Tomb Blade vehicle. And I think this is kind of what it's meant to kind of glue them into place. So these were a little bit fiddly. It did recommend using a model knife or tweezers to kind of position them, but I just free-handed it. And they made it kind of easy. That one side has double and the other doesn't. And so you can't really make a mistake. And then here with his hands and arm, again, very straightforward. They even have this square lock-in position so that it's really impossible to put the hands in the wrong position. So this was actually pretty straightforward. And then this really locks the driver in place because he's glued in on the back via the tubes, and he's glued in on his hands. It's the dash panel, I don't know what you call it, the driving wheel of the vehicle. And that kind of just seals everything in again. So once that's done, the core of the vehicle is done. So it's time to do the weapons. So as I said, these are the twin gauze blasters that emit a dissembling beam that tears apart the target's atomic structure, dissolving armor, flesh and bone. So I thought that sounded pretty lethal, so I thought I'd give that a go. But I did end up assembling the other weapons as well and prime them just in case I want to switch kits later, or maybe I want to put them as part of another model, or maybe as base decoration or something like that. So I just ended up assembling them all. But these were really straightforward because there's only two and they kind of force you to glue it the right way. You can't really make a mistake. Or at least I couldn't find a way to make a mistake because I was making plenty along the way. And so the next section was, I realized I had missed step 2. So these have, I guess, little thrusters. They don't really say what they are. And also little wings that you attach the blades to. But I could not for the life of me figure out the instructions. So it's saying there parts 12 and 13 go on the left hand side and 11 and 10 go on the right hand side, but no matter what I did, it just did not work. So I did try a couple of different ways, and then I ended up just leaving it till very last because I couldn't figure it out. But these wings were a lot simpler to attach. So all in all, this model did take me a while to complete. It took me over an hour, which was a surprise because I thought I would be able to knock it out in a lot shorter amount of time than that. I wasn't really expecting it to take that long. I mean, I was a bit distracted, I did make some mistakes, and I haven't done assembling for a while, but I think just as a beginner, I'm still a bit slower than other people that have been doing this hobby for years, since I've only been doing it for a few months. You can see here I'm still confused and I'm checking the instructions. But yeah, now I'm gluing on the little blades. And I'm just trying to make sure I get the angle right, because I didn't want to glue them on in the wrong way. And the same with the guns as well. I didn't want to kind of have them pointing out at weird angles. I wanted them to be kind of uniform. So I realized that it came with the stand, and I can just put it on the stand, and then I can position them, and I can have gravity helping me pull things the right way. So that definitely made things easier. I wish I had thought of that earlier. So now with the blades and gun attached, it's ready to move on to the next section. So now we're doing the back of the model, which is the shadow loom. So this is the device that projects an aura of darkness that provides the craft with cover. And it was pretty straightforward. I kind of wish that I had done the nebula scope instead, because I think that looks kind of cooler than just a bit of metal, kind of like an aerial jutting out. And then the next thing I did was the shield vanes. So this is projecting an energy shield around the craft. And this part was a little bit tricky in that it's hard when gravity's kind of pulling them down. There isn't really much area that you're gluing on. And then I also tried to make it uniform. I didn't want like one side to be kind of at a different angle than the right side. But this was more just fiddly than anything. It wasn't really that much skill required, but it was just time consuming. So you're watching this at 10 times speed. So everything that you're seeing here takes 1 minute to do. It has taken me 10 minutes. So definitely very slow. I don't know how long taking 3 of these to build would take. I mean, if it was linear, it'd be over, 3-4 hours. But I think you probably get faster at it as you're going. However, last time I did big batches, I made even more mistakes. And so with the thrusters, I just decided to glue them on the opposite way than what the instructions told you, but they kind of looked alright to me. So I don't know what I was doing wrong. If you know, let me know in the comments below. And then the last step was just to prime it. So I was going to use black primer, and then these are the weapons that I made up as well. So I just used my normal black spray paint primer that I got from Bunnings. And this is the final model. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I don't think I made any other mistakes that I haven't yet realized, but I'm sure I'll uncover that when I get to the painting. So the next video I'll do will be about painting this bad guy and seeing how that turns out. So if you want to watch the paint video, or you want to leave a comment or a like, it's very much appreciated. You can also subscribe, it's free. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next video. Bye.